Oh, okay. Uh,
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi,
Hello.
ma'am.
Okay.
Ganesh, uh, please make a co-host to Kulkarni, ma'am. Ganesh. Hello. Ganesh. मॅडम 1 मिनिट मी फोन करतो तुला.
हो हो चालेल.
हॅलो.
हा हॅलो सर.
हा मॅडम झाल्या बहुतेक तुम्ही co-host झाले. So
ओके.
I welcome Dr. Vibhati Kulkarni, madam, for this afternoon session. Uh, uh, I welcome madam on behalf of all the participants and on behalf of Research Committee Science College Nanded. Now I request Dr. Madam to proceed further with her lecture.
ओके
Ma'am.
थँक्यू सर. आय एम शेअरिंग माय स्क्रीन.
Okay, ma'am.
आज मॉलच्या बाजूला.
हॅलो. हा मॅडम, स्क्रीन शेअर नाही झाली तुमची. मॅडम तुम्ही म्यूट झालेत, अनम्यूट करा प्लीज. Yes. वैशाली.
स्क्रीन शेअर होत नाहीये सर. होस्ट डिसेबल्ड अटेंडी स्क्रीन शेअरिंग म्हणत आहे. को होस्ट केलंय का बघा बरं एकदा.
नमस्कार. हो का? हो का?
बहुतेक को होस्ट केलं नाही वाटायला सर. हॅलो मराठे सर. मराठे सर.
केलेला आहे
केलेलं
हा
आहे का?
मॅडम. हा.
स्क्रीन शेअर होत नाहीये. हा आता झालं.
ओके ओके.
हॅलो.
मॅडम
अमृत
स्क्रीन शेअर होईल का?
हॅलो.
मॅडम स्क्रीन शेअर होत नाही का?
होत नाहीये स्क्रीन शेअर.
बरं ठीक आहे, मी काय करतो तुम्हाला होस्ट बनवतो मॅडम.
हो चालेल चालेल. का बरं व्हायला की तसं? दोनदा तीनदा मी ट्राय केलं, बंद करून चालू केलं.
हॅलो मॅडम, म्यूट आहे का तुम्ही? हॅलो हॅलो विभाती मॅम. हॅलो आवाज येतोय माझा?
हा आत्ता येतोय सर आवाज. माझं
ओके, ओके.
स्क्रीन शेअर होत नाहीये सर.
तुम्ही को होस्ट आहेत ना मॅडम? हा
मी
नाही तर
ट्राय करत आहे पण काय माहित कशामुळे होत नाही.
एकदा करून द्या.
परत एकदा करत आहे.
हा. मी काय करते फाईल ओपन करून ठेवा कुठेतरी म्हणजे ते शेअर मध्ये येऊन जाईल.
एक मिनिट. फाईल काय करू? हॅलो
फाईल ओपन करून ठेवा म्हटलं मॅडम एखाद्या ठिकाणी
हा हा
आणि नंतर शेअर मध्ये जाऊन मग ते सिलेक्ट करा.
बरं बरं ठीक आहे. ओके.
हॅलो 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 मॅडम.
हॅलो सर.
हा हॅलो मॅडम. हा हॅलो
मराठे
मॅडम.
सर.
हा मॅडम. हॅलो 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 बाकीच्यांना आवाज ऐकू येतोय का?
हो सर.
ओके. हा विभाती मॅम तुमचं नेटचा एकदा पहा. नेटवर्कचा इश्यू असू शकतो मॅडम. हॅलो
हॅलो मराठी सर. हॅलो हॅलो
हॅलो मॅडम.
सर मी तुम्हाला पीपीटी शेअर केली आहे, तुम्ही हे करू शकता का?
ते मॅडम पीपीटी तुमचं एकच पेज आलंय, तुम्ही पूर्ण मला फाईल पाठवा.
आता परत एकदा सेंड केलं मी, पहा बरं एकदा.
बरं बरं, एकच मिनिट.
हा.
एक मिनिट.
हा ओके सर, आली का?
येस मॅम. एक मिनिट. मॅडम.
Yes sir, thank you sir.
ओके.
Please make it slide show.
ओके, एक मिनिट.
Okay, thank you sir. This is the second session I have been conducting. First session was devoted to philosophy, the term, nature and scope, types of philosophy. Today we'll deal with the remaining part of first unit, that is about ethics. So second slide sir.
Okay.
This is third paper as you know. Next slide sir. Ethics, definition, moral philosophy, nature of moral judgments and reactions. So this is part we are now studying in this session. Next slide, sir. Yesterday we have discussed about philosophy. The meaning of philosophy is the study of source, nature and development of knowledge. And further, after getting knowledge, if you do the expansion of that knowledge using philosophy, that is research of yours. So what are the branches? Yesterday we have discussed that part also. Branches of philosophy are moral philosophy, which is also called as ethics, then ontology or metaphysics, The third one is aesthetics. Fourth is epistemology, in that we have studied subparts or subtypes. These are objective, subjective, and constructive epistemology. And fifth is logic. Sixth is political philosophy, and seventh is philosophy of religion. So these are branches of philosophy. This one, here see why we should learn and adopt ethics. As you know, this is that branch of philosophy, and while doing research, you need to be there very ethical, because if you do any plagiarism or fabrication, that is not original research of yours. So in real life, you do you adopt and learn ethics for the sake of living happy life, good life, life with morality, the life with reason, that is rational life, which is balanced and safe, and where you need to follow discipline, and that satisfaction is also needed. And especially you are doing all these things for the humanity sake, and all human qualities you need to follow under ethics. Next, sir. Next slide. So from where we learn ethics? You are human being, you live in society, there you are part of formal and informal groups. Formal groups means those groups where you have formal interpersonal relationships, and informal group means you have interpersonal relationships which are not formal but informal one. So in that, when you are in informal groups as at home, and in the field, that circle of your friends and culture, at that time you learn some ethics. Even when you are in formal groups like school, colleges, and certain offices, that time you also learn some official or professional ethics. So in this way you learn ethics in your life. Next slide, please. That moral philosophy, yesterday we discussed, but today also in this regard, we are discussing ethics or moral philosophy. What is the definition of this term? It is set of rules or moral obligations, mannerisms, and accepted behaviors while living in the society. If you want to be good, that time you need to follow all these obligations or mannerisms which are accepted by society. So what is right, what is wrong, you should know first, and according to that legal system, you should be always lawful, and you should follow all those legal ethics also. The branch of ethics focuses on what ought to be known, what should be desired way of living. Actually, it is science of the highest good, or for the sake of that humanity. Ethics or moral philosophy, it is a branch of philosophy that involves very systematic way of living, defending and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. So it is all about behavior. Next slide, sir. Some very important types of ethics or moral philosophy according to their use. When you are in personal that life, there you follow certain personal ethics. Person makes choice of some behaviors, manners, like speaking truth, keeping promises, being honest. So these are called as personal ethics. Social ethics, some standards you follow while living in society as a member of society. These are social ethics. Like don't humiliate others, don't disrespect people. Then some religious ethics are there, where religion is controlling that human behavior, that believe in God. Then professional ethics, there are some ethics you follow at workplace, and these are related to your job profile. For example, ethics for doctor, ethics for teachers. Business ethics, in that while doing business, you should be very honest, you should not cheat your customer, that is business ethics. Then now in this regard, you need to follow research and publication ethics while doing your research, and it is the syllabus, or it is the part of your syllabus of third paper. Next slide, sir. Some more types we will be discussing. The first type is meta ethics. It investigates big and serious questions in life, where you study or you deal with foundations and nature of moral values, properties, and words. Questions like such as what is morality, means what is right and wrong, what is justice, or how to justify ourselves and avoid conflicts. Next slide, sir. Normative ethics, in this you deal with the system of that morality and questions how one ought to be or must be moral, and it decides the framework of what is right and wrong. Deontology is that subtype of normative ethics. In this theory, which distinguish rights and wrong, rights from wrong, it is associated with Immanuel Kant. You know that philosopher. He believes that ethical actions follows universal laws such as don't steal, don't lie. Then you have another subtype, that is utilitarianism, that is looking towards outcome. What is output? It decides whether your action is right or wrong. When you do something good, that output is good, and accordingly you can decide what is right and wrong. Then third subtype is virtue ethics. Virtue ethics, this particular ethics, these are the set of ethics which are developed by Aristotle, who is Greek philosopher, and it is the search to understand and live a moral life, and it assumes that we acquire virtue through practice. Since every day if you practice good habits, automatically you become good person. Some habits or qualities you can possess like honesty, generosity, kindness, etc. Next slide, sir. Subtype of this we have justice. It is the theory of ethics which is presented by Plato and Rawls. Actually, this is political philosophy where Plato has presented his idea of ideal state. In his ideal state, he wanted everything ideal. Even he didn't allow some people which are not beneficial for the society, like poets and people who are writing literature and artists, especially in his ideal state. Then the theory or ethics of skepticism. It is by Nietzsche, where he presented this theory regarding doubt, the nature of human life, and he says that we should not doubt in good things. Then consequentialism, it is the theory presented by John Stuart Mill, and in this particular that ethics, he has presented some good ideas like intellectual pleasures are most valuable than pure physical pleasures, he says. Then everyone's happiness counts equally, he says. Then motives are irrelevant to an action's morality, he says. The last subtype is care, which is presented by Virginia Hill, and she presented ethics of care for dealing with not only with the local but global problems and seeing a new outlines of international civility. Next, sir. Next slide. The last type is applied ethics. In this, it involves examining specific controversial issues such as animal rights, environmental concerns, then capital punishment, means punishment of death, then nuclear war, because these are universal problems, and there that all the people's involvement is required while discussing on this problem. And this moral philosophy provides such tools which are helpful to examine the universal life and especially the ethical life of ours. Next slide, sir. Moral judgment, the next concept we are dealing with, that is moral judgment. What is this concept? We people are human beings and we have brains. We think we are different from animals. That time we believe that we should be moral and we should be there giving positive results or what do you say, the responses especially. A judgment is an opinion actually that you have or you express after thinking very carefully about something. So this is due to your brain. You can think and you can express after thinking, and it is very careful action. So moral is the word which is actually derived from Latin word moris, which also means that custom and practices or habits. So thus literally ethics is the science of custom, or collective habits of a man. So what is moral judgment then? You can define moral judgment as that voluntary actions. Means everybody's moral judgment can be different, but there you consider that morality, of course. The voluntary actions of rational person means when you give moral judgment, that time it is that reason or that intellectual capacity of yours that help you, which involves discussion. While giving this judgment, you discuss so many things, you point out all that observations, then you make choice, you get some solutions or decisions, that is resolution you say, and in that there is a moral quality of righteousness and wrongness. So if you want to learn such type of moral judgments, previously we had you can read some books like Akbar Birbal stories, Panchatantra, Bodh Katha, where you find that these kings were giving moral judgments, and while doing that, they use all the discussion, they took decision, they think on all those problems, and according to that righteousness and wrongness, they give decisions. So this is moral judgment. Next, sir. Next slide. So what is the nature of moral judgment? It is social in character. Means in society we require this type of moral judgment because we are not animals, we are human beings, and we have some customs, we have some norms of goodness. It is because as we know that voluntary action of a person, whether right or wrong, can affect other people's interests. So moral judgment is it has collective result. Moral judgment is always accompanied by the sense of duty or moral obligation. So when you give certain decision which is moral, that time you think that whatever you are saying or doing, that is of course that can make some resultants on humanity. That time you are doing very cautiously. Moral judgment is self-imposed. Moral judgment is that judgment of values. So this is all about that nature of moral judgment. So next slide. Some more points are also there you can add into this nature of moral judgment. Moral judgment is always critical judgment, where you not only consider that positive side of that particular thing, but even you think about that negative side of that thing, and then you give certain decisions. So it is critical judgment. It is a mental act, and where you pronounce a particular action to be right or wrong. This is judicial concept of conduct, and law plays very important role in this moral judgments, though that is that formal law system or the law which is there in existence in society, which is in informal form. Moral judgments are always that factual one. The judgments of psychology, physics, etc. are factual, but which are there in society, sometimes they are emotional also. So there are two ways of this means taking decisions or judgments. That Mahatma Gandhi was a man of character. It is axiological judgment in this way. Moral judgment is what ought to be and what not to be. So this is how there are two aspects or two sides of moral judgment. It is imperative, it is not descriptive, it is a mental process which discusses the goodness or badness of an activity. So, sir, next slide. Moral judgments are normative, means they are conceptual. Science is either normative or positive in that way. Ethics is a normative science. And in the words of Muirhead, it is concerned with the judgment upon conduct. So when you see somebody's behavior, that time you give that comment, or you do criticize on that, you give judgment or decision, and you whatever you do, that is on or upon that conduct. The judgment that such and such conduct is right or wrong, you say. So moral judgment is on an activity, not about it. So after observing that activity thoroughly, you give some decision, that is the fact. So according to Mazzini, the nature of moral judgment is not just like the one called ethical. It does not pronounce judgment about something but upon something. So this is point to be noted. Next slide, sir. Always the moral judgment is inferential, means after doing deep thought, critical thinking, and analyzing the fact, you come to the conclusion. So the decision is always with that observation and interferences. So it is inferential. Before pronouncing a moral judgment, we place it upon the ethical standards. So what are the sets of rules you have, which are there established, the patterns which we are following in the society, they are there before us while giving any type of moral judgment. For example, if somebody does murder, there is death punishment that is defined by law system. In common matters, it is easy to judge because we know the ethical or moral values of an act by insight or intuition. Only in profound and doubtful subject, it is necessary to present the criteria distinctly in order to apply moral judgment. So in the law system, we know that we have so many legal books. These books are read by those people who are related to that judge, you can say the judge or the lawyer. These people, they study and then they profoundly observe those facts and then they give decisions. So in this way, this is for serious cases. Next slide, sir. I'll give you just one very common example we can see on roads, that is of road accident. See, in this picture, you can find that there is that hit and run case. The truck is hitting the car very badly. The accident happens, and that even the driver is injured there. And you just is the onlooker. You are you can suppose that you are the bicycle rider. What will be your reaction to this particular incident? See, and you are the person who is giving moral judgment. So your reaction can be, you can take photograph, you can help the person who is injured, you can take the person to that hospital, you can call the policeman, you can catch the truck driver, you can hit the truck driver, and you can gather the mob. So many things can be done. These are the reactions usually which are commonly seen in such cases of road accident. But once you think on that moral judgment part, being a good person, it is expected that you should help the person who is injured first, and then you should call the policeman, and you should not be just the onlooker running from the scene. So this is the moral judgment and some reactions which are expected in such cases. Next slide, sir. See, one more very common example. Suppose there is a very close relative of yours, like your father is sick. At that time, what do? You are there engaged in your daily routine. You are there assigned with certain very important project. And the second thing is at family, your father is very sick. What would be your reaction to such situation? Definitely being the person who follows the morality which are there in your society, you give priority to your family first. You approach your father, you stay there until your father recovers from that particular sickness. So this is how the duty or calling of yours, and you should follow these things. These are certain reactions which are there expected from you. Next slide, sir. That very famous that dilemma, which is always which is discussed by the people who are there thinking on moral judgment and reaction. So sometimes it is not possible for us to take decision, and certain situations also can happen in our life. So this is the example of such case where it is not possible for us to take quick decisions. This dilemma, dilemma means what? Dilemma means that situation in which it is not possible for you to take that means decision. So it is difficult to make choice between two or more things. That is called as dilemma. So in this, see, it's an example relating to moral or ethics I am giving to you. Suppose there is one railroad. that railroad was carrying passengers and faced two roads in front of that railway, and you have the choice to switch the tracks. Which path should you choose? So there are two paths you can make choice of. The first path has one person, and the second path there are 5 people tied down to the tracks, and the train is heading towards it. See, so on railroads, you have such a particular scene. You can choose to do nothing and have the 5 people killed. You can take action, switch the level and kill one. Then see, if you make choice of one for saving 5. Interestingly, in the medical field, it is forbidden to kill one person to save many. If you think straight off in a utilitarian way, you would naturally think, well, 5 out of 1 is better, right? But how is it possible to compare the value of life quantitatively? So this is dilemma where you cannot make choice of one for 5. I am still lost to what I would do. So in this way, it's not possible for us to take decision in certain situations like this. Next slide, sir. See, here we can see the picture where that accident happened. Next, sir. So moral judgment and voluntary reactions. Sometimes you need two voluntary reactions, and you need to face certain things like this. The object of moral judgment. Voluntary reactions are important. Object in moral judgment. So the object of moral judgment is the rational self or ideal self. Means with the help of your moral self or a rational self, you take such type of decisions or judgments. Person judges actions to be right or wrong from the standpoint of an ideal standard. So it is dependent on individualism. What is that cult of the person, the personality, thinking capacity, and accordingly the person faces the situation or gives the reaction. So all is about sanskara you have at family, at school, in very formal groups you follow. The ideal self passes moral judgments on the motive intentions, on his own actions and actions of others. Next slide. So this is how that conclusion, the previous one, sir. So in this way, the study of ethics will be helpful for doing original research. It will be helpful to establish integrity in research, publications, or doing research also. So help to avoid misconduct in research like duplication, fabrication, plagiarism, overlapping of publications, misinterpretation or misrepresentation. So knowledge of ethics helps to maintain standard of research in this way. Last slide, sir. Here are some questions which can help you on first unit. I have completed. Define philosophy and discuss the nature and scope of philosophy. What is philosophy? Discuss its various branches. What is ethics? Explain the concept of moral philosophy. What is the moral judgment and its nature? Explain. Describe the concept of moral judgment and reaction. So this can help you. So all the best. All the best, and thank you for listening this session. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
One question is in the chat box.
Okay.
For you, ma'am. What is mean by value judgment? Which is asked by Mohammed Talib.
So, see, moral and value, these are one and the same concepts. When you follow that positive standpoints which are there developed by society and legal system which is there in our society, these are called as that value judgments, which are very necessarily should be taken by we people.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If you have any other questions, you will be asked. Yes. विचारा काही प्रश्न असतील. Yes. Okay, I think there is no questions. So thank you very much, Dr. Vibhati ma'am, for giving you an informative and very interesting lecture. No doubt, previously because of technical issue, you will carry this lecture very fastly. But whatever you have given in your lecture, it is very informative and very important with respect to moral values and all these things. So thank you on behalf of all the participants and all on behalf of Science College Nanded. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, giving me chance speaking in this coursework. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. So, dear participants, our next guest is also in our meeting, Dr. Bhise sir. So I request Ganesh, please make host. Yes, okay. Thank you, Ganesh. Dear participants, it's our fortune to have immense personality with us. I think most of participants from your side by a book of Dr. Bhise sir, along with the co-author Dr. Gachande sir. So today it's a chance to deliver, or it's our fortunate to listen Dr. Ramesh Bhise sir. Presently, he is working as a head Department of Physics at BJ College, Arefata, Pune. He is a member of Board of Studies in Physics of Pune University. He is MPhil, PhD, MCA, and MBA qualification. He has published 43 research papers published in national and international reputed journals. And also these journals of high impact factor. He has also very noteworthy feature of his resume is he has published more than 64 textbooks for BSc and MSc students in the subject physics. He is a recognized research guide of Pune University, and presently there are 8 students are working under his guidance for the PhD. Along with that, he has also published 4 reference books, and he has a very well-known speaker, and he has given invited talks in various conferences, national workshop, and all these things. So more than 14 invited talks he has given. He has also presented 26 research papers in different national and international conferences, and he has huge experience for teaching. 27 years of teaching experience for PG and UG in physics. And along with that, he has also worked for various committees. Actually, his work in a college NAC committee, and he has also IQAC coordinator, then BCA, MCA coordinator, ARC coordinator, and information officer for the college. He is a life member of Indian Science Congress Association. So really very renowned personality with us. So I welcome Dr. Bhise sir on behalf of all the participants and on behalf of Research Committee, Science College Nanded. Welcome you, sir, for this today's lecture. Dear sir, for your kind information, there are 46 participants are there, out of which one is international student, which is working in mathematics department. But because of today at our college, we are conducting one national conference in mathematics. That's why some participants, they are engaged in national conference. That's why they are not present here. But 39 participants today we have. So I welcome Dr. Bise sir, and I invite Dr. Bise sir to deliver his today's talk. Bise sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, one and all. First, I am very thankful, Honorable Principal Gawai sir of Science College Nanded, then Research Coordinator Dr. Gachande sir, Course Coordinator Dr. Vishal Marathi sir, and all technical staff who has conducting this kind of coursework. As we know that students, are you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. All scholar research, they know that there are 4 kind of the papers which want to complete it before to submit the thesis. That is our basic question, and everyone has to know that how to complete these 4 courses. So related with that, research methodology is the first subject which we want to complete. And whenever you go through the question paper, we find that there are a lot of kind of logical questions they can ask for this research methodology. So in my first lecture, I first concentrated over that, how you get a simplicity about this research methodology. Logically, we can understand this research methodology. Then easily we should write the question, answer of questions. So if you go through the previous kind of the question papers, where we find that mostly they can ask these kind of questions related with only research methodology. Not they are going into the detail, but logically they can ask the question and you have to give the answer of that questions. Till today, I think this is the 7th day. Till today, we have heard number of guest lecturers who have bombarding to you that what is an research, how you should do the research, what we should do, how to prepare the report, how to publish the paper. All these things we know that because guide has guide has already completed your other methods which you want to do here. But you have to minimally understand that how research methodology is followed in your PhD course. And that's why whenever you see the syllabus, that's why they included the some topics under the introduction of research methodology, because research methodology is a very hard subject. Nobody can, till today, nobody can understand whole research methodology, because itself, its meaning is that we have to find out the new things, innovative things. So better way you understand that what do you mean by research methodology. So in today's lecture, I firstly concentrated over that understanding the, in a simple manner, understanding the meaning of research methodology. Once you understand the simple terms, you may easily write the answer of each and every questions. So you please follow these terms and try to understand what do you mean by research methodology. And second part of this PhD course is very important, that is how to analyze the data. That is an important thing. You remember that. Once you understand, because you know that this is the heart of your research work. Once you understand that how to analyze the data, so you please remember that it is very easy to guide to the other students. Once you understand that how to analyze the data. So that is a question and that we learn within this course only. So I think this is a simple concept of this PhD course. Let me start with the discussion about today's lecture. As you go through the syllabus of research methodology, there are, I think there are 6 chapters. They can distribute the elements regarding that topics. First one is introduction to research. Second is that different methods used for the research. Third one is that development of research proposal. Then fourth one is which you want to study that different methods for the data collection. Then fifth one is that how to analyze that data, means methods of the data analysis. And last one is that you want to publish your work, that is how to write the report and how to publish that. So simple thing in a simple logical way, they are including the syllabus in a research methodology. So you follow that rules. And if you go through the previous question paper, we find that they can ask the question over these three topics, mainly these three topics. Those are compulsory questions. Those are repeated questions. So that are only over these three topics. Introduction to research methodology, which is the first chapter. Then hypothesis, which is the third chapter. And last one, fifth one is the data analysis. So these are the three terms which is the heart of research methodology. Remember these things. Now, simplicity into this syllabus is that we remember whenever they introduce the chapter, Introduction to Research Methodology, they focus over these 4 points. Number one is that is students or scholar understand the meaning of research methodology? Are they know the purpose of research methodology? Are they going through the process of research methodology? What kind of different methods are used for doing the research and how they approach towards their final research? So that things they are concentrated and they include that topic into this research. Okay. Second is that we know that guide has given problem to you, or you yourself you can choose the problems and collect the data, which we call it as a previous data. We collect the previous data, which we call it as a literature survey, and then we choose your method according to your guide. We can try to make the questionnaire or do this experiment and find out the some results. Okay, so first of all, in that they think over that whatever the problem you have discussed, whatever the method you have choose, whatever the data you have collected through the different methods, is it that correct? So that we want to check. That will be checked. So that point is called as a hypothesis. You first of all prepare your hypothesis, what you want to do, and then by the different method you check that hypothesis is correct or not. So once you understand the hypothesis concept, there are different type of methods to testing that hypothesis, and whenever you are testing the hypothesis, we have a limitation. Again, when we know that guide has said that we choose a big subject, we choose a big subject. So we put some limitation over your research. And once you understand that how to make the limitation over that hypothesis, we can prepare your thesis within that whatever period you have declared. That is why hypothesis is very important. And then last one is that once you are check the hypothesis, everything is correct, you go follow the rules and do your experiment. We prepare the experiment or questionnaires, collect the data, and try to understand that how whatever data is collected, how you can analyze that data. And we have to reach towards the result. You have to reach towards the result. That's why data analysis is very important. So in that, once you understand the meaning of data analysis, different kind of method of analysis are there. You can interpret the result, you can prepare the reports. Then finally, you know that you have to follow the rules of rules and regulation of the universities and UGC, that they can check the plagiarism, whether it is copied or not. And lastly, you can publish your data. So these are the terms which they have included into the research methodology. Remember that we know the meaning of research methodology. We choose the problem, we collect the literature, we can collect the data, and we want to first check that is called as the hypothesis, and then we can analyze the data. Once you analyze the data, come to the interpretation of result and declare your result. So that things they have included into the research methodology. Only related with this point, number of times repetitively, they can ask the question logically, they can ask the question over the research methodology. Please remember these things. Okay, so within shortly, I can explain within short. I can explain that how they can, how we can understand the research methodology. Okay, so meaning of this research is very simple. Meaning of this research is very simple. As we know that number of lecturer or number of times we have heard that what do you mean by research, what do you mean by research. Okay, so actually research is coming from the word of French. It is a that word is a researching. Actually, French research is a French word, and from that we can note this research term. Okay, someone has remembering that before some year, Pune University has a one vice chancellor, Dr. Narendra Jadhav. Whenever we heard the lecture of this VC, every time he can explain that what is an research. So at that time he says that research is related with the searching, and searching means to find out the or to search the black cat in dark room. So actually we don't know whether we have to go and what we are finding. So that means he says that every time we have to find out the innovative terms. So he says that research means means again and again, and searching means finding or gathering the information. So there are a lot of methods to gather this information. Okay, art students make the questionnaire, commerce students study the some phenomenon, and science students do the some experiment. Through these different methods, we collect the data. Okay, once you collect the data, it is interpreted with the previous data. We compare that data with the previous data, and we find out whether it is correct. We say it is matched with previous result, so standard result you have got. And if it is not matched with previous data, we find out the reason why it is happened. Why it is happened? You have to give the reason why that should not be appear. So that is gives a predication of the result. Okay, so that is nothing but the research. So simply we can understand. Simply we can understand what is a result. So understanding, interpretation, discovery, and interpretation, investigation or discovery of the new things. So that gives a fact related with the laws or theories or some other variables. So that is a simple meaning of the result research. Okay, now the question mostly asked over this topic, that what are the good qualities of the research, or gives the characteristics of good research. So you remember that everything is repetitively discussed with this point. Logically, they can ask the question. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
आवाज येतोय ना?
येतोय sir, येतोय.
Okay, okay. So good quality of research is generally gives or explained with these systematically 4 terms. One is that good result is a systematic. Second is good result is a logical. Good result is a empirical, and good result is a repeatable. So see the meaning of this word. Every time we are finding that systematic result means we focus over only the rules. We focus over only the rules. We know that whenever BSc students come in our lab and they are doing the experiment, they just follow the rule, whatever the teacher has explained, that prepare the sample like this, you do the experiment like this, and we are providing the formulas. They put that values into that formulas, calculate the formulas, and we find that lastly whether that result comes or not. So they follow the set of rules. So systematic means good result follow the set of rules. Remember that we call it as a systematic. So related with that, we should write anything. So you getting the marks. Okay. Second thing is that logically you want to take the decision whether that result is correct or not, whether you have to do the next process or not. So logically we have to find out the answer of such a question, and that result will come into the good result. Okay, so that's why second characteristics of this good result is a logical. Then third one is the good result is the empirical. Empirical means it check your validity. It check your validity. Remember, empirical means validity. It check your validity, whether that result is valid or not. whether that result is valid or not, or it is a concrete related with the data. Is it concrete related with the data or not? Logically, we are finding the answer. That depends on the previously data collected. But you remember that the validity will be measured by the good result. And once you are getting that result, we say our result is correct. And then lastly, we should come to the good result is a replicable. Replicable means it is a building of the various characteristics. Last time, see, science students has explained their thesis related with the characteristics. We check number of properties of that material, and according to that, find out the variation into that result. And lastly, they can compare this result with the previous data and explain why it is different. So that is a replicable. Your result may be good, which is a replicable, which gives the study about that information. So that's why these are the simple characteristics of the good result. So number of times this kind of questions will be asked into the examination. Then somewhere we are finding that they are asking the simple question that purpose of the research. Explain the purpose of the research. So remember, we can explain this purpose by using a different methods. We should determine whether it discover the answer of your question or not. I have a number of questions. Whenever we choose the problems, whenever I choose the problems, I have a number of questions that can I find out the answer of such questions or not? Where it is applicable, is determine the frequency of that answers, can check the hypothesis, is it familiar with the other phenomenon, is it use the new achievement, innovative achievement. So like this, we have to find out the answer of such a question. That is nothing but the purpose of your research. See, one of student, whenever I have declared their problem, so he come towards me and says that, sir, you have given a problem to me that I want to do the some research related with this topic. Whether that gives a result, whether it is applicable. So he make the number of questions to me, and that is the purpose of my research. See, again I am repeating this term. Whenever you declare the problem, number of questions comes in your mind, and we find out the answer of such questions. That is nothing but the purpose of research. Once you understand this logic, you should write the answer of each questions. Okay, so that is the simple things related with the purpose of research. Then second thing is that now we want to follow the rules and we have to go through these processes that we say the step of the research or process of the research. Now logically today in India, we are follow these steps how to conduct the research. Firstly, we want to find out the or identify the research problem. See, whenever you approach to your guide, number of time, firstly, he says that which is your interested area, what you want to do, what you should do, like this. He can ask a number of questions to you, and you know that I don't know anything, I am coming towards you, you can give the problem to me, then I can follow the conduct step. So that is not the process. You remember that. First of all, you identify the research problem. That guide has asked a number of questions to you that at the initial stage, you follow that identification. Then with discussion, we can declare your research problem. Related with that, you can find out the literature, then specify the purpose, then you try to determine the questions in that research, then you collect the data, you analyze that data. First of all, you collect the data, then you check that hypothesis, you check that problem is correct or not. That's we call it as the hypothesis, which specifies the framework of your research. Then you choose the method for collecting the data or analyze that data. Then according to your method, you collect the data, you analyze data, you then interpret the data. Interpret means you can characterize the data and find out the calculations and result something is okay. Then you can report your data, write your data according to a format, and then finally you can publish your data, which gives a possibility of finding the research. That questions which arises in your mind at the time of choosing the problem. So this is a logical sequence. This is a step which we want to follow into the research. That is, we call it as a process of research. So number of times we can repeating these steps. So that is a one framework of the doing the research. Then there are number of methods to do your research, because we know that whenever you approach towards your guide, that guide has a fixed research methodology in his mind, because he has already done experiment related with that method and he concentrated your work with that method. Okay, so whenever you have to choose the method, you remember that there are 4 kind of the research method. Basically, we are formulating these 4 types. Number 1 is basic research, second is applied research, third one is evaluating research, and fourth one is action research. Basic research means we can to formulating and testing the theoretical construct. See, you can formulating and testing the theoretical construct means theoretically you can explain the terms. We know that in a why you remember that why UGC had or Maharashtra government of Maharashtra has stopped the research in a open university, because students, those are admitted towards the PhD at that open university, they basically concentrated over this kind of the research, basic research. They just use a formulation and formulas, collecting the information and analyze that data and just say that my research is completed. Okay, nothing will be getting output, but basic research is related with the basic sciences. You remember that there are again different kind of method. We follow that method and find out the result. Then applied research. This is a very important terms, important method which we want to understand. That in that applied research, we basically concentrated over the understanding of nature of human problems. We are finding the applications of your research related with the human problems. That we call it as the applied research. Today, we have a dire need of this applied research. Remember these things. This is related with the STEM, statistics, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So related with that term, we use this applied research. So number of countries, they are concentrated over this applied research method. In that country, they follow these methods. Okay, so here applied research is very important method. Then evaluation research. Okay, so now we are using this kind of method in your research, evaluation research method. So evaluation research method concentrated over that studies of the process and outcomes. We do experiment, we getting the characterization of that sample, we find out the result, calculate the result that is related with the previous or not. We can check according to the some standard evaluation, and then nowadays we are coming towards the outreach of that program, whether it is applicable or not. See, this kind of questions is mostly asked by the NAAC peer team. Whenever they come your college, they concentrated over that. Are you doing PhD? Have you completed PhD? We mostly say yes, and then they can ask the question to that whether your PhD is applicable for people or not, or this society or not. So we have not answer related with this question, because we have not choose a evaluating research method. So you remember that this is an important research method whenever you do the research. And the last one is the action research method. Now action research method means nowadays we know that in 2019 till today we are facing the problem that coronavirus are coming in India, and we find that we want to find out the immediate solution over that term. In that, we use some research methodology to find out the quick result for that term. So that is, we call it as action research. So we have a problem and immediately we want to solve that problem. So that we should do research using a action research methods. Okay, so these are the 4 kind of the methods. Okay, now then where some of terms related with the scientific method, we are finding that whenever we go through the previous examination, we find that number of questions asked over the scientific method. Okay, so here whenever you write the answer of scientific method, you prepare your mind, you have to follow the 5 points. First of all is that what is a scientific method? So question arises in your mind that what you are observing whenever you are doing the scientific method. So these are the kind of the question which we want to give the answer. Why, how, what? That can be measured. Is it testable or not testable? Is it non-testable? If it is not testable, change into the stable question. This is the one thing whenever you write the answer of scientific method. You know, I am not going in the detail of the scientific method, but whenever you write the answer of such a question in your answer book, you should remember these 4 points. You have to give the answer of this question. Then second thing is that hypothesis. Now you remember that you are putting your hypothesis and checking whether it is applicable, whether it is testable or not testable. So there are different kind of the method through which we can test the hypothesis. Or mathematical problem, number of times they can ask for this hypothesis method. Okay, as we know that one question is there, I think mostly this kind of question asked in a 7 or 6. Whenever you see the previous question paper, in that I mostly find out that mathematical problem asked in a 7th question or 6th question, something like this. So in that we have to write the answer of hypothesis. Okay, so testing, how we should do the testing. So logically you should write the answer of such a question. Then experiment. As we know that science student can explain very well how you should do the experiment. Same process we can explain into the experimental method. Then whenever you do the experiment, we have a data, we have an observation. So you can collect that data. So we analyze that data. So there are different kind of the method to analyze the data. Okay, so you should draw the graph, you should calculate the some parameters using some formulas, and you compare that data with the previous data or with some different groups, and then we can see what different we are getting into this experiment. So that data will be getting here, and finally we can conclude the data that we should do like this. We are finding this graph, and this nature of graph of nature is like this. We check the hypothesis, and this is true or not. We should write all these things in a conclusion. So whenever you write the answer of any questions related with scientific method, you should write the answer of this such 5 points. Okay. Now in the scientific method or in science, we follow this flow chart. First of all, you identify the problem, then you check the hypothesis, then you make the observation, you then perform the experiment, then you can analyze the data, then again check the data whether it is true or not, or if it is fail, again repeat the terms. If it is yes, we are getting the answer, then draw the conclusion and finally communicate the result. This is a simple technique which we use in a science method. Okay, that last point which we want to discuss for the research methodology is a approach of research. Approach of research. Okay, so in that you see how you should getting the result. Is it due some innovative? Is it a interdisciplinary approach? It has a interdisciplinary approach. Is it a qualitative research? Are you getting some desired outputs? Okay, so we have a lot of questions whenever you are doing the research. All these things, whether it is completed or not, whether you are satisfied with your problem or not, that you have to check at the last term, and that is called as an approach of research. So in a short note, I find that number of times they can ask the questions related with the approach of research. So you please go through this point. You please go through this point and explain with your logical term that what is an approach of research. Once again, I am repeating that part, that whenever you write about the approach of research, you remember that you have complete your research. You have already completed your research. You have to make a conclusion. But lastly, we come to the approach of that, whether you are satisfied with your result. Because at the initial, we have a lot of questions. Whether you are getting the answer of that questions or not, that comes to the explanation about this approach of research. And that is, it is interdisciplinary approach. It is a qualitative research. It has a getting desired outcomes or not. Is it your interdisciplinary screen and experiment? Is it has a clear output or not? Is it has a clear outcomes or not? And what additionally you should do, that we call it as a feature of the research. So that things which we want to explain into the terms of approach of research. Okay, so that is related with the first chapter where they can ask the question. Then I'm trying to explain that hypothesis. You remember that in a third chapter, compulsory questions asked over the hypothesis. Without explanation of hypothesis, research methodology cannot be completed. So please remember that compulsory questions should be asked over the hypothesis. Now, some of students, they cannot understand till today what do you mean by hypothesis. Hypothesis. Okay, so hypothesis, as we are familiar with this word, it is a combination of two words. Hypo. Hypo means verification. Hypo means verification. Okay, and thesis, which we are writing the solution of your problem. You are writing the solution of your problem. So we have to verify that solution that is getting from the hypothesis. In short, mathematical student says hypothesis means testing. And they have formulated some problems, they have formulated some formulas. Chi series, tie series, T series, chi series, phi series. Number of terms they have included here. They have formulated that formula, and using that formula, you check it. Okay, so hypothesis is a simple combination of two words, hypo plus thesis. Thesis means solution of your problem, which you are writing in a different manner, and you have to test it. You have to test it. So according to this point, which you have noted here, you should write the answer of this question. See, this is a compulsory question which is asked into your question paper. Okay, so generally we are making, whenever you choose the problem, we make this tentative statement. Some of time you are making some simple statement related with your problem, and I have explained that number of times we have to reschedule, rewriting the title. Some of times I have number of times in Pune University, I find that number of times I have given note to some students that please reevaluate your hypothesis. Please rewrite your problems, because it is a hard subject, or some of where we are not getting something related with this topic. So we have a question related with that problem. So tentative, we are making the statement, and that should be correct or not. We are finding the solution, and then we decide what is the title. Somewhere we are writing the story, and lastly we can give the title to that story. Like this way, we tentatively make the problem, we do the experiment, find the conclusion, then we have come towards the again restructuring of that problem. So that should be happen by using a hypothesis concept. Okay, so this is the meaning of this hypothesis. Okay, then there are number of sources to testing the hypothesis. There are number of methods by using that we should check the hypothesis. Okay, so according to your education field, we can use the hypothesis. We can declare the hypothesis and you check the hypothesis. Okay, science students are generally doing the experiment. Art commerce students, they all make the questionnaires. Okay, so according to that, they're using their hypothesis method and check whether that is correct or not. Okay, so whenever you write the question answer of hypothesis, sources of hypothesis, here we follow these 7 steps. Number 1 is that what is the specialization of educational field? According to your subject, you write the meaning of hypothesis. Please remember these things. Okay, second thing is that we are attending the some conferences, we read some handbooks, journals, some of papers. According to that, we should use the hypothesis method, because previously someone has understand the meaning of hypothesis, and same method he is using for the you can use for your research. So that should be happen. So that is second things which you want to be here. Then we instruct the programmer to pursue that program. So computer students, they should follow this information. Then we can analyze the information according to your specialized area or studied area. Okay, so we can analyze that data. Then you have considering the existing practices and needs related with your title. Then extension of the investigation. Some of time we are finding that we are getting this application. Now this time number of students in physics, they can study that whatever you are preparing the sample, it is applicable for solar panel or not. Is it applicable for gas sensing or not? Is it application for printing system or not? So they can check that application. At that time, somewhere you are getting good result and we can extend your work. So that should be getting from this hypothesis only by testing the your working. Okay. Then you study your research work in a different field. Is it interdisciplinary approach? Is it has a interdisciplinary approach or not? That should be explained by using these terms. Okay. Then there are different kind of the hypotheses. Those I have already told you that. So there are 4 type of the hypotheses. Okay. Generally, we use a questionnaire form. You use a declaration statement. We use a directional statement, and last one, null form or not directional form. Okay, so these are the 4 kind of the hypotheses. These are the 4 types of the hypotheses. Please remember these things. So questionnaire form means we have a lot of questions. According to that, are you satisfied or not? At that time, we can accept that questionnaire, accept that problem, or you may reject that problem. So that we can understand that should be done by using a hypothesis method, that is a questionnaire form. Then declaration statement. Declaration statement, you remember that declaration statement provides the relation between your variable, what you have done and what you have to examine. That use the relation between that observed values and actual values. So that declaration use a relation between them. Whether it is correct or wrong, that should find out by using this method. And that is one kind of hypothesis that we call as a declaration statement. Okay. Then third one is a directional statement. Directional statement. Some of events are there. According to that, you have to change your result. Okay. So expectation of that should be happen in that term, and we have to change your statement. You have to change your problem according to that evidence. So that type of hypothesis is also there, and that is called as a directional statement, directional hypothesis. Okay. And fourth one is a non-directional or null form. And some of times everyone teacher has explained only hypothesis related with the null hypothesis or non-null hypothesis. Okay. So this is a one part of the hypothesis. Okay. Null hypothesis, remember that null hypothesis may be accepted or may be rejected. That is depend on the testable framework. That is depends on the testable framework. If your hypothesis is accepted, so you remember that whatever you are testing, that test method is correct. Whatever method you are choose, whatever data you are collected, that is corrected. Then you say my thesis is my hypothesis is null hypothesis. If it is rejected. Rejected means you are getting this some difference into that result. This is a different, means some errors are occurs whenever you are doing the experiment or doing the research. So you can reject that part. Okay, so that is called as a again null hypothesis. So there are two kind of the null hypothesis. Those are explaining by the accepted and rejected hypothesis. Okay, so number of times only teacher focus over this fourth part, that is a non-directional hypothesis. Okay, which you call it as a null hypothesis. Okay, so these are the four type of the hypothesis: question form, declaration statement, directional statement, and null form or non-directional hypothesis. Okay, so this is a simple method to check the hypothesis. We are already followed it. Just collect the data, analyze the data, evaluate the probability, whether it is yes or no, means accepted or rejected. According to that, you choose the your method. Okay, so that is called as a hypothesis. And lastly, I have to explain that what are the limitation of hypothesis. Somewhere I have read in a question paper, short note are asked for these topics. Some of times we are finding that they can ask the question related with the limitation of hypothesis. So please remember that what are the limitation of hypothesis. Once you are understanding the meaning of this, you remember that hypothesis. So probability we have made. Somewhere whenever you are declaring your problem, somewhere we are finding the choose your problem. So number of questions are coming there and we ignore that questions. You ignore that questions. You remember that where limitation occurs, that point is coming from that point. We have somewhere we are finding that we have a one concept. Ignore that part. Ignore that part. That is not included in your syllabus, not included into the research. You are sometimes you are removing that part, ignore that part. That put a limitation on your hypothesis, because it not give a flexibility in your hypothesis. It is depends on your assumptions. You remember that it is depends on your techniques. It may be scientific or not may be scientific, but that depends on that term. It depends on some variables that whenever you ignore that part, somewhere you lost that information, and because of that you are getting the error into the hypothesis whenever you check your data. So please remember that ignore part will put a limitation on your hypothesis. Okay, so once you remember this word, you should write the answer of this question. This is a simple technique which whenever you write the short note for this limitation of hypothesis. Okay, and then last part of today's discussion is data analysis. Within short, I try to explain that how to analyze the data. Please remember that this is a big topic. According to your research method, you have to use this term, data analysis. Okay, so I am trying to explain within a short how to analyze the data, because logically somewhere they can ask the question. Sometimes, sorry, not somewhere, sometimes they can ask the question related with that data analysis. Okay. Please remember the meaning of this data analysis. You have a observation. Science students are doing the experiment, collecting the data, put into the tabular form, and now you want to find out the result. So there are different methods to analyze that data. There are different methods to analyze data. Generally, physics students draw the graph. Okay. Mathematics or statistics students, they find out the error or find out some coefficient, standard deviation, average, mean, like this way. They are calculating that terms. Art commerce students shows their result according to the graphical method. There are different kind of the chart or graphs. They use pie type of graph or hysteresis graph like this. They should use that point, and according to that, try to analyze their data. Art student also shows their information through some graphical way. So that measurement is very important whenever you are analyze the data. So generally, data analysis done by the two ways. One is that measurement and another is that purpose of the analysis. So that should be explained by the two different ways: descriptive analysis and statistical analysis. Commerce, sometimes commerce students and art students, they can describe the data in a different way, and science students, engineering students, they are explaining their data according to the statistical analysis. So these are the two types of data analysis. In descriptive analysis, we explain or they study the description of the variables. Okay, for example, correlations, regression, variation, or in short, they study the relation between the measurable quantity. This is a simple way. Okay, second method is that statistical analysis. Science students mostly they use this kind of the method for analyze the data. Okay, they characterize the particles, they characterize the substances, then use some mathematical formulas and calculate the result. And after all that, they can show their result through a graph. So there are various methods to analyze this data in a science analysis, a scientific statistical analysis. So they concentrated over the testing hypothesis, where whether that data is valid or not, and then finally come to the conclusion. So this is a two method which we want to explain into the data analysis. That is the simple meaning of that term. Okay, in qualitative analysis, you know that whenever research some lecturer they are explaining the research methodology, they focus over 2 points: qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. I don't know meaning of that term, but please remember that analysis done by the two ways. We have a data, qualitative data and quantitative data. In qualitative research method or in qualitative research method, we collect this qualitative data. Qualitative data explain your approach, it explains the phenomenon, it explains the feelings, it explains the experience, it explains the all kinds of the terms related with the data. Okay, so this research methodology is very important whenever you do the research. That is a qualitative research method. Okay, so it focus generally, it collect the data. Qualitative method collect the data through a interview, focus the groups, make the observation, collect the observation, and then make the documentary of that data and then analyze the data. Okay, so they should collect the data, put in a tabular form using some methods and analyze that data. So that is a qualitative data. And next term is a quantitative data. Quantitative data, that is different than of qualitative data. You remember that. Okay, here we come to the quantitative data to find out the how research is done, how many times he has do the research, how he has obtained the different methods. Is it getting some approach or not? Is it measure the correct value or not? Is he has done the experiment or not? Is that result is effective or not? Like this way, you find out the causes behind of that terms. That is nothing but the quantitative data. That is nothing but the quantitative research. That should be happen by using a quantitative research. Okay, so in that you remember that quantitative research focus over only two quantities. One is a observation and another is a measure. It gives the relation between them. Okay, that means you find out the frequency, you find out the difference between variables, you put the analysis of data through some methods. So that gives a explanation into the quantitative data or quantitative research method. So this is the difference between these two terms. Somewhere they can write a short, ask the question over that, how to write a difference between qualitative data and quantitative data. So you follow only these two steps. Within that, we can explain very well. you please remember that whenever you write the answer of your questions, you shortly write a answer of such a question. We have to follow their rule. Within some page, we can write that answer of question. That's why I am highlighting this point. Okay. Then important term is that how to represent your data, how to represent your data. So presentation is formed by the different way. As I already told you that I'm not repeating that part, but you can collect the data and put in a table form. Then you can find out the frequency of that data, how many times it is repeated. Okay, and then graphically you can represent it. So there are number of graphs, there are number of methods to representing that graph. So you follow that stuff. That is nothing but the presentation of data analysis. Okay, you should write that data in a tabular form. You should put data in a frequency distribution and then graphically presentation. So that is a one term which you want to remember here, how to present the analyzed data. So in previous exam, they are asked already this kind of the question. Okay, and then lastly, we publish the data. So we know that whenever you publish the data, you please remember that firstly, you write the abstract, which is a total meaning, which gives a total meaning of your research. Then you introduce about your research problem, then use a different kind of material and methods for doing the experiment. You write whatever you are find out, that is a result and discussion, then come to the conclusion, and lastly you should write the references. Somewhere we take the help of some organization, you acknowledge them, and that term is not compulsory, but we should always write that term, because suppose you have taken admission at the Science College Nanded, so you have to acknowledge them, so that they have given a chance to me to do it research. Okay, so like this way you can publish your data. This is a general term which we want to publish into the journal or proceeding or somewhere conferences. So all this about today's lecture. I am very much thankful of Principal Dr. Gawai sir, then Head of Department and Course Coordinator, Coordinator of this Research Center, Gachande sir, and then Dr. Marathe sir, who is the coordinator of course of this course, and all the staff and all the scholars, students. Thanks all of you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very nice and informative lecture. Now the topic is open for discussion. So dear students, if you have any queries, please ask. Yes, you may ask in Marathi also. There is no language barrier. तुम्ही खूप लोकांनी सर आम्ही मुलांना तुमची पुस्तकांबद्दल सांगितलं आणि मुलं तुमची पुस्तक घेतले, मागच्या पण वेळेस मुलांनी घेतले. खूप छान बुक्स सरांचे आहेत रिसर्च मेथोडॉलॉजी आणि कॉम्प्युटर ऍप्लिकेशन वरती. तर तुम्हाला म्हणजे एक्झॅक्ट त्यामध्ये मागचे क्वेश्चन पेपर पण दिलेले आहेत आणि हाऊ टू जस्ट गो फॉर एक्झामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्ह्यू नी ती पुस्तकं तयार केलेली आहेत. त्यामुळं हे जे लेक्चर्स आहेत सरांचे खूप मस्त आणि खूप छान आणि इन्फॉर्मेटिव्ह लेक्चर असं होतं. पुन्हा उद्या सरांचं एक लेक्चर आहे 3 ते 4 4 ते 5 सेम टाइमला. त्यामुळं आज जरी तुम्हाला काही डिफिकल्टीज नसतील तर तुम्ही पुन्हा उद्याच्या लेक्चर्स मध्ये ज्या काही असतील तुम्हाला डिफिकल्टीज यू मे आस्क फ्रीली. असतील तर आता विचारू शकता.
सूचना मला मुलांना सांगायची की आपल्याला भरपूर लोकांनी लेक्चर दिलेलं असतं, बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी जनरली आपल्याला माहिती झालेल्या असतात, पण ज्यावेळेस आपण क्वेश्चन पेपर सॉल्व्ह करतो परीक्षेच्या टायमाला, त्यावेळेस आपल्याला फक्त मोजक्याच शब्दामध्ये त्याचं उत्तर लिहायचं असतं, असं फापड पसारा लिहायचा नाही. एखादी गोष्ट आपल्याला समजलेली असते ना, तर त्याचं अंडरस्टँडिंग जे झालेलं आहे ते आपण एक्सप्लेनेशन द्यायचा प्रयत्न करतो. आणि क्वेश्चन पेपर मध्ये सॉल्व्ह करताना परीक्षेच्या टायमाला आपल्याला ते अपेक्षित नसते. आपल्याला अपेक्षित काय आहे की मेथड तुम्ही कशी फॉलोअप करता, यू गो स्टेप बाय स्टेप अँड राईट द आन्सर ऑफ सच क्वेश्चन. म्हणजे शॉर्ट बट स्वीट आणि इम्पॉर्टंट टर्मच त्याच्यामध्ये लिहायचे आपल्याला. एक स्पेस पण ठरवलेला असतो. खूप काय लेंदी लिहायचं नसतं त्याच्यामध्ये असं काही. त्यामुळं तेवढी फक्त सर्वांनी गोष्ट लक्षात ठेवा की महत्वाच्या पॉईंट नुसारच त्याच्यामध्ये जा. म्हणून माझ्या पीपीटी मध्ये मी महत्वाचे पॉईंटच दाखवलेले तुम्हाला की रिसर्च मेथॉडॉलॉजीच्या विषयी कोणते प्रश्न जर विचारला तुम्हाला तर तुम्ही 5 पॉईंट फक्त लक्षात ठेवायचे. का त्या प्रश्नाचं मिनिंग काय आहे, त्या आर्टिकलचं त्याचा पर्पज काय आहे, त्याची प्रोसेस कशी आहे, त्याची मेथड कोणती यूज केलेली एक्सप्लेनेशनला, आणि त्याच्यातून आपल्याला शेवटी काय कन्क्लूड काढायचंय. याच्या जर 5 स्टेप लिहिल्या तर तुम्हाला त्याचा आउट ऑफ मार्क्स मिळू शकतात. हे एक गोष्ट लक्षात ठेवा. आणि दुसरं महत्वाचं आहे की सगळे जनरली जे नॉन सायन्सचे स्टुडंट आहेत, समजा आर्टचे आहेत, कॉमर्सचे आहेत, दुसऱ्या फॅकल्टीचे आहेत, तर त्यांना मॅथमॅटिकल प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व्ह करायला अडचण येते. आणि आपण उद्याच्याला मी लेक्चरमध्ये 1-2 प्रॉब्लेम तुम्हाला सॉल्व्ह करून दाखवीन की अतिशय सिंपल असतात. उलट ते कंपल्सरी मार्क्स आपल्याला मिळून जाऊ शकतात की ज्याच्यामध्ये फक्त फॉर्म्युला लक्षात ठेवायचा आणि प्रोसेस लक्षात ठेवायची की प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व्ह कसे करतात ते. तर तेवढं जर एक लक्षात आलं तर माझ्या माहितीप्रमाणे तुम्हाला रिसर्च मेथॉडॉलॉजीला भरपूर मार्क्स मिळायला काही अडचण येणार नाही.
Thank you very much, sir.
थँक्यू.
So, on behalf of all the participants and on behalf of Research Committee, Science College Nanded, I express my gratitude towards Dr. Ramesh Bhise sir for giving such a nice, informative and very informative lecture, because it is very much helpful for our student to prepare for PhD coursework. So thank you very much, sir. We will meet again at tomorrow. It's again a chance to listen Dr. Bhise sir in afternoon session, tomorrow afternoon session at 4 o'clock. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So now participants, it's time to leave now. Today's all the sessions are finished. Now we will meet at tomorrow at 11 a.m. sharply. So